up, everybody? It's Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics, Testosterone, and Male Performance. Subscribe if you are into that stuff. I wanted to quick mention we are still doing the 30% off torque. I don't know, we have 140 or so bottles left to sell at 30%, so our loss is your gain. Coupon code is 30TORQ, and you can do that in the description below or at livecortex.com. All right, friends, so let's talk about a nootropic stack that is going to blow your mind. It's very potent. The main constituents of the stack, as to not be one of those YouTubers that takes 7 minutes to fucking get to the point, are uridine, citicoline, and theobromine. Now, this is a combination that only somewhat recently I've been putting together and suggesting to some of my clients that has been literally lighting everybody up. I mean, we're talking like 5-6 straight hours of solid productivity, dopamine style motivation, and lots of stimulant energy. All right, so I'm going to get to doses here in a second, so please stick around. But I wanted to break down first a few interesting points that you're going to want to know in dosing this stack. All right, number one. Uridine monophosphate is a god nootropic. Look, it increases phosphatidylcholine synthesis, which is going to make your brain perform a lot more fluidly. It enhances dopamine receptor density, and taken with a choline source, increases synaptic plasticity in your brain, which is going to translate to better quality computing power. Uridine has a pretty high biousability rate and can be taken something to the tune of 3 to 5 times a week. Now, the dose range on uridine is 20 to 200 milligrams unless you weigh 185 pounds to 250 pounds, in which case you're probably looking at 250 to 300 milligrams per dose, and that's uridine monophosphate. Now, citicoline, the second component of this stack, also enhances dopamine receptor density, but it's also going to potentiate the signal of dopamine. At the same time, it gives you more focus and computing power via enhancing the bioavailability and really the quantity of brain acetylcholine. If you pair uridine with citicoline, now you've got two ingredients that together aid in the process of your brain synthesizing new neurons and repairing damaged ones. I mean, it's a powerful combination. It's one of the primary kind of brain growth elements, synergies really, in mother's breast milk. So when mothers feed their kids their milk from their breasts, uridine and choline is a major component of that breast milk. And this is literally because it makes babies' brains grow. But here's the really important part. Bringing theobromine into that combination. Now, theobromine is a methylxanthine analog like caffeine and teocrine, which acts at the adenosine receptors as a pretty strong antagonist. So what that does is block your inherent adenosine from binding to those receptors and therefore blocks tiredness. It gives you more energy. That's essentially how caffeine and other methylxanthines work. Now, here's a really interesting, sophisticated part about it. There is some really cool research that suggests that theobromine interacts with the adenosine receptors in a very particular way that potentiates the effect of uridine. What it looks like is happening here is that uridine and theobromine are interacting with nucleoside transporters. It's HCNT1 and HCNT2. And the simple layman's terms translation for that is that uridine and theobromine together potentiate one another in the stimulant department. If you take uridine with citicoline and you add theobromine to the mix, you have an extremely synergistic, highly effective stimulant effect. Top of which is the dopamine potentiating and the synaptic enhancement of the citicoline and the uridine together, which translates to a god-level, highly powerful nootropic combination. Now, let's talk about doses on this and how you should really approach executing a stack like this, because the potentiation of these ingredients in terms of brain stimulation and dopamine release is so strong that you run the risk of overstimulation, activating the sympathetic nervous system and feeling uncomfortable as a result. So my suggested starter doses on this stack would be the following. For a male that weighs between 120 and 185 pounds, the stack would look like this: 150 milligrams of uridine, 65 milligrams of citicoline, and 65 milligrams of theobromine. For a male that weighs between 185 pounds and 250 pounds, because the more you weigh, the differently you're going to kind of metabolize these compounds and perhaps the higher doses you're going to need, the dose recommendation looks like this: 180 milligrams uridine, 95 milligrams of citicoline, and 130 milligrams of theobromine. Now, look, these are the base levels of the stack that you should start with. You could always make adjustments to the stack in an upward capacity if you find that it works really well, but you want to see the highest tolerable amount for you, in which case I would change only one ingredient at a time, and I would start with this citicoline, Then I would move to the uridine, and then lastly move to changing the theobromine. If you change stacks with one ingredient at a time modifications, you're going to know which modification made the most impact. Whereas, if you change a lot of people make the mistake with nootropic stacks and stimulants of they're like, all right, this is pretty cool, but maybe I can take it to the next level. Let me up the dose of everything. You're not going to want to do that kind of for nuanced sake. All right, so let's talk about my experience with this stack. So look, I started dosing this stack in January, and I needed a couple months to kind of see how it affected me and if the effect was consistent, whether or not there was tolerance. And I also, because my N=1 is, though valuable, it's just one individual experience, I wanted to bring in clients that I'm consulting on nootropics and energy and see what those responses were. And so far, the results are pretty remarkable. All right, so I'm going to take it to a Google document on one of my users. It's a live document that we use to track nootropic stacks and effects with clients. And this user here, which is one of my clients, reported 8s, 9s, and 10s on the energy, motivation, and processing fronts, and had this to say about the stack. He goes, "What did you give me here, man? I spent 5 straight hours writing today and didn't feel even an ounce of brain fatigue and wanting to stop. I was also super motivated and everything was flowing like mad." Flowing like mad. Another user giving, again, 8s, 9s, and 10s on the energy, motivation, and the processing elements on the reporting system had this to say. He goes, "This stack was excellent. So far, nothing has touched this stack in terms of stimulant, energy, and brain power, except perhaps higher dose phenylpiracetam hydrazide." Maybe something to take away for you folks. He goes, "I felt a strong stimulant effect initially, which converted into one of the most functional brain states I've had in years. Dude, please finalize this stack." What he's referring to is once we identify that a stack works well and especially consistently, we finalize it. That becomes part of the user stacks, right? It's usually a number of stacks that they take that is, are effective for their particular brain. So those are some user experiences. Now here's probably the best part about this. All of these ingredients are readily available, right? None of this is like pharmaceutical compounds. You don't need prescriptions for any of this. I mean, you can literally buy uridine, citicoline, and theobromine powder, which, by the way, is the best way to dose this, weighing it out on a milligram scale and then capsuling it out yourself. And by the way, you wouldn't, I guess you could get away with buying capsules of each of these individual compounds, but then you kind of have to factor in the fact that most capsule supplements have flow agents. I mean, you could get away with it, but ultimately you're probably going to want to buy bulk powder of the stuff. Some of the most advanced nootropics people are buying bulk powder, weighing it out on a milligram scale, capsuling it that way. Either way, this is a strong stimulant dopamine potentiating, computing power optimizing, flow state inducing nootropic stack. Now, last major important point, well, a point of convenience really. If you don't want to go and buy all of these individual ingredients and powders and weigh them out, you could replicate the stack pretty much pretty close by just getting the Cortex stack. So that's our stack, which is based on those doses of uridine and citicoline, but which also has an additional dose of artichoke extract, which potentiates the energy component of the stack. And in addition to that, you could just go buy some 50 milligram capsules of theobromine if you can find them. Otherwise, just get the powder, weigh out 50 milligrams on a milligram scale, capsule it up, and you're on your way. If you take Cortex with theobromine, you're going to have a very stimulant-like brain performance effect. Cortex stack has been around for 8 years. I mean, the stuff is exceptionally powerful. You can buy in the description of this video or again on our website, livecortex.com. That's just one way around having to go and get all these compounds together. I mean, you pretty much have a good degree of that stack in Cortex. Just add theobromine and then you're on top of the world. Secondly, another kind of version of this stack is the Torque stack. Torque stack gives you theobromine, but it stacks it with another powerful methylxanthine called teocrine and adds alcar, citicoline, and mucuna to the mix for a stimulant-like but dopamine-powered motivational energy type of state. And as I said at the beginning, yeah, right now Torque is 30% off. Once we just got a batch of inventory in and there's a lot of Torque, right? So I can move Torque at an exceptionally cheaper price. So right now, our loss is your gain. You can get Torque 30% off right now. Coupon code is 30TORQUE. You can do that in the description of this video is the link or at livecortex.com. They have all kinds of great nootropic products and nootropic education courses, etc. at the website. And I also wanted to announce that I recently launched a personalized email response service. So if you don't want to get on a call with me, you can just literally synthesize all of your issues in an email and I will respond with targeted protocols. It's convenient because we don't have to get on a 20-minute call and do all that kind of rigmarole, and they're cheaper than the calls. These personalized emails, since we launched it to the email list somewhere over the weekend or something, I've gotten 50 purchases of the personalized email consultation consult. So people really seem to be loving it. If you need my help on something and don't want to do a call, get the personalized email response. We'll give you targeted protocols in those emails. And you can do that in the description of this video at livecortex.com. Otherwise, hope you guys are having a great week. What is today? Wednesday? It's hump day, baby. Let's go. I'll chat with you guys super soon. Rock on.